everyone, and welcome to Fox 9 Sports Now. The Vikings rocking the quarterback room, dumping two quarterbacks. But before we get into the individuals that are affected, Pete Bercich, Vikings analyst, radio network, television during the preseason as well. What's your level of concern here? Because Viking fans are going like, what's going on here? We went through the whole preseason with these guys, and we had to groom them and OTAs and all this, and now all of a sudden we go, we're good. We're just going to throw these two out and bring in another.
I think dumping is kind of a strong word considering we traded one of them. We got a little bit out of the trade with Howell. Going into the season, I expected Howell to be the backup just because of his experience, but I just don't think the chemistry between Howell and the coaching staff and the player, I don't know if there was a click there, right? And so that's kind of what this team does. And if the guy's not a fit for what they're trying to do here, you know, they're gonna move on. And what was nice is the fact that you're able to at least move up and around and do a couple of things. So it wasn't like you just turned them loose.
Right.
So. Overall, yeah, you got some. I mean, you're keeping Max Brosmer, who, by the way, I mean, he had another great night against the Titans, going up against the ones. I think he had a really good night. So we'll see with Carson Wentz.
All right. Well, let's start with Carson. He had been unemployed until this morning. Supposedly came in for a workout on Saturday, and today he is now a Viking after signing with the club. So what are the Vikings getting here? What kind of Carson Wentz do you think they'll be getting?
You know, hard to say. He's in his 30s now, right?
32.
So he's definitely not the spring chicken he used to be. But again, you know, you have a guy who's more in the mold of a Sam Darnold, right? With the 6'5" and the big arm and all those things, and be able to sit in the pocket. So there's potential in that regard. He's familiar with the offense from his little bit of time that he spent with the Rams. But so kind of, again, having an experienced voice in that quarterback meeting room, because let's just, when we take a step back, you understand this is J.J. McCarthy's team, right? Because he's the leader. And so having a guy like Carson Wentz, who's, you know, he's won a Super Bowl, wasn't necessarily playing at the time, but he came to Minneapolis and won a Super Bowl. He's familiar. Grew up a Vikings fan, so probably a good fit for him and a good person to have with the team and have someone in the locker room. By the way, he's teammates with the quarterback coach, you know, so
exactly.
It's like everybody knows everybody, and I think it'll be, in that regard, a good move.
All right, so did the Vikings underestimate the quarterback position? Because they had all of these pieces, right, that were floating around. They could have kept Darnold. They elected not to. They could have tried to cut a deal to keep Daniel Jones here. They didn't. They let him go. Or at least those players turned down. We don't know exactly if they put contracts in front of those guys. But, and then, you know, the Aaron Rodgers and all these other pieces were out there, and they just go, no, we're fine.
It's hard to say. I mean, with the Aaron Rodgers thing, I just think from watching him last year when we played him in London, he's done. I mean, he might. He's not this. We've been watching him every, you know, year in, year out.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near. He's a shadow. He's a shadow of what he used to be. So, you know, that part of it you kind of get, and then you think about it. If Rodgers comes in, he's going to be a backup. You know, maybe he didn't want that, right? So that would be a problem, obviously. And if, you know, the guy's a little outspoken, it could be a little bit too big of a problem. They saw something in Sam Howell, enough at least to make the trade to bring him in. And, you know, whatever that was, what they thought Howell was going to be, he obviously wasn't. But again, when you make a mistake like that as a coach or as a GM or a front office, and you bring somebody in expecting A, B, and C out of them, and you don't get that, you either have to eat the contract and deal with it for a season, or sit down and say, hey, we made a mistake, we're going to fix it now. So in that regard, I mean, you got to tip him, because we're never going to know exactly what the problem was or why he wasn't a fit. You know, we'll never be privy to that information. It's just the fact that the man wasn't, And they did something about it, and they did it before the season started. Now, is it late? Yeah, of course it's late. You have 2 weeks to get, we put quarterbacks out there that have been here for, 48 hours, right?
Yes.
With the pastronaut. So it's not like we haven't done that before. But kudos to them for understanding that you made a mistake, and you're going to make a change and make it right. And then when you have someone like Brosmer, who, has improved and meaning that you could see Brosmer having to go in an emergency situation and doing well. You're not just, you have some bodies there, I guess, in that regard.
Right. All right. Note to Danny, we're skipping the Howell. We've talked enough about him. Brett Rippon also was released, meaning the only quarterback other than J.J. McCarthy to make it through camp is Max Brosmer. Now, with the room shuffled around, is there a possibility Max is number 2 when we see the depth chart going into Monday Night Football against the Bears?
I think only if Wentz can't, is unable to pick up enough of the offense, or at least they feel it. In that regard, I highly doubt it. I do think that Wentz will be the number 2. Just again, the most valuable thing in this league is experience, and it's the hardest thing to get. But Wentz has a ton of it, and whether or not, so you have him as an emergency backup to go in, and if Wentz gets in there and doesn't look the part, then you make the decision to say, hey, do we go to the young guy, or just to say it's the exact same exercise that this team went through 2 seasons ago.
Right.
Same, and eventually we brought in our rookie and said, all right, Jaron Hall, here you go, here's your chance. So I would expect it to play out the same way if it were to go that way. And unfortunately, would have to go that way.
All right. What did Max do so well? What surprised you of all the things he put on the table during this training camp and in these 3 preseason games?
Yeah. In going into it, when we met with, Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah before the first preseason game, he was talking about how excited he was to see Brosmer because he's got a quick release and he's accurate. We saw all of that. I think it was his decision-making that surprised me the most. And the ability to get better week after week after week when you're not getting a lot of snaps in practice, right?
Yeah.
And the preseason's changed in a number of ways.
Because he started at 4, right?
Right. And the preseason's changed in a lot of ways. And one of the ways is how much defenses blitz. I mean, it's stupid now. There's 0 blitzing in a 3rd preseason game. You know what I mean? It's like, I thought this was to go out and evaluate talent, not to find, trick an offensive coordinator and have a free runner of the quarterback. Well, with all that going on, and the injuries at wide receiver. I mean, did he throw a ball to a starting wide receiver all preseason?
I don't think so.
I mean, not in any of the games.
No.
Right? So to be able to have the success that he had with the cards that he was dealt, being out there against the 1s, against Tennessee, being out there when he's with the 3s against the 2s when you're playing New England, to still have success and look as good as he did. I mean, I think it bodes well for his future. But he's a really good decision maker as a quarterback.
All right, the Vikings are still about $30 million under the cap after they cleared even more money this week, dealing Harrison Phillips and now Howell. So there's been a lot of talk among the fans on social media that they need to go get Adam Thielen, bring him back to the fold. How likely is that in your mind? And if not Adam, is wide receiver a position of need in your mind?
It is, just because we don't know who's going to be healthy and when. So the Vikings, if they know some things that we don't, as far as, Ty Felton and how he's feeling and how Speedy's doing, Jalen Nailor.
Right.
That could switch things one way or the other. I don't think money is the problem. It's that teams are going to want more than just money. And that's draft picks. So, to sit there and say you want to bring in an Adam Thielen, and the Carolina Panthers are sitting there going, yeah, we want a 3rd or a 4th. You really got to think about that, because in 3 weeks, or by week 4 of the regular season, you're going to get Addison back. Jalen Nailor should be way healthy by then, right? Mm-hmm. So you have the crew going into the end of the season that you expected, when you didn't need a free agent. So to give up the future draft picks to bring someone like that in, That's a tough pill to swallow, and I don't know if the Vikings are going to do that. But I can see why they're hesitant to do so. So again, it's not the money part of it. I think they're willing to pay to bring somebody in that they want. It's just what else on top of the cash are they going to have to give up? That part of it, I think, is the tough pill to swallow.
All right, another area that the Vikings may be interested in beefing up before the season starts is the secondary. Jeff Okudah was another guy the Vikings felt they could bring in here, resurrect his career under Brian Flores. But the camp, at least from observers, hasn't been that great for him. Do they need some help back there, too?
Well, yeah, and how they see Okudah is I think, huge, right? And we're not, again,
right.
we have our
but they have their own.
So how they're going to use him, if it's going to be differently, what do they think of him? And then it's also how well did Mekhi Blackmon play this entire preseason, right? He was out there a lot. Oh, and I know he was coming off the knee injury, but for a guy who played quite a bit, he was the one guy out there that we'd seen a lot. So he got a lot of film put out there, and so they're going to have to take a hard look at Mekhi Blackmon and think, can he be the number 4, if you will, but a guy that we can get in there quickly. And outside of that, knock on wood, we've been healthy in that spot, so that's good. But I think that the DB, if there's another position where a body might be brought in, it would be the defensive back. Okay,
and then quickly, special teams. Kick return, punt return really hasn't been much of a factor in recent seasons, especially under this current administration here. Miles Price, is he the guy that's going to get the shot this year, do you feel?
I hope so. I mean, I hope so because of how hard the guy works. I mean, the long kick return against the Patriots, this is one of his 80. This is an 83-yard return that he made here. What was even more impressive was the tackle that he made on kickoff coverage, where he ran about 65 yards to chase a guy down. So, that bobble on the fair catch, it's just one of those things. A punt returner, Marcus Sherrills, at least you knew that he was going to make the right decision. He was going to come up with the football. That's the most important thing. Anything on top of that's gravy. But I do love Miles Price and how hard he works, and I'm pulling for him, and hopefully he's going to be able to step up and win that job.
All right. It's all for real the next time we talk.
I know.
Monday Night
2 weeks.
Football.
A little over 2 weeks.
Thank you for coming in, Pete. We really appreciate it.
Here we go. It's go time
great.
now.
Yes,
it's like training camp 2.0. I mean, that's what the coaches are saying. They're like starting it up again. It's a totally different animal now.
It will be a lot of fun this year, no doubt about it. Straight ahead.